The studio of The View looked the same as it always did: bright lights, polished table, warm applause from a carefully seated audience, but beneath the surface, something felt different. Even the crew sensed it. There was an electricity in the air, the kind that prickled the skin and made seasoned producers exchange uneasy glances. This was not going to be a routine episode. Sharon Osbourne sat upright in her chair, hands folded neatly, her expression composed but unreadable. Years in television had taught her how to mask emotion, how to sit still while storms gathered. To the casual viewer, she looked calm, even relaxed. But those who knew her well, especially the camera operators who had filmed her for years, recognized the subtle signs. The jaw set a little too tight. The eyes, sharp and watchful, like a match waiting for friction. Across the table sat Meghan Markle, elegant and poised, her posture flawless, her smile warm but measured. She wore a soft-toned dress that caught the studio lights just enough to glow. To the audience, she appeared serene, confident, every inch a public figure accustomed to scrutiny. Yet beneath that polish was tension of a different kind, the tension of someone who had learned to expect judgment before it arrived. The host introduced the segment with practiced enthusiasm, her voice upbeat. Today, we're continuing our discussion on public accountability, media narratives, and the cost of fame. Joining us is Meghan Markle, actress, philanthropist, and advocate. Applause filled the studio. Meghan nodded graciously, thanking the audience with a small wave. Sharon clapped too, but slowly, deliberately, her eyes never leaving Meghan's face. The first few minutes passed smoothly. Meghan spoke about mental health advocacy, about the weight of public expectation, about learning to set boundaries in a world that never stops watching. Her words were careful, thoughtful, clearly rehearsed, but sincere enough to resonate. The audience murmured in agreement more than once. Sharon listened in silence. She had been quiet for longer than usual. Too quiet. The co-hosts exchanged quick glances, sensing it. Sharon Osbourne was not known for holding back, not when something mattered to her. And this subject clearly did. Meghan continued, her voice steady. When you're constantly painted as something you're not, when people decide your intentions for you, it becomes exhausting. You start to realize that silence doesn't protect you, it erases you. That was when Sharon shifted in her seat. It was subtle, but the movement drew attention. She leaned forward slightly, her fingers uncurling on the table. The camera instinctively cut to her, as if it too felt the shift. "May I ask you something?" Sharon said. Her tone was calm, almost gentle. Meghan turned toward her, nodding. "Of course." Sharon tilted her head. "You speak a lot about being misunderstood. About narratives being forced on you. But do you ever stop to consider the people left behind in those narratives? The ones who don't get to tell their side?" A ripple moved through the audience. The question wasn't hostile, but it wasn't neutral either. Meghan smiled politely. "I think everyone deserves to tell their truth." Sharon's lips pressed into a thin line. "That sounds good," she said, "but truth isn't always singular, is it?" The temperature in the room changed. One of the co-hosts tried to lighten the moment. "These conversations can get complicated. But they should." Sharon cut in, still composed, still calm. "Because real lives are involved." She turned fully toward Meghan now. "You've spoken openly about pain, about being hurt by institutions, by individuals. But when you tell those stories on the largest platforms in the world, the consequences don't stop with you." The audience was silent now. No murmurs, no applause. Meghan's expression tightened just slightly. "I've never told a story to hurt anyone," she said. "I've spoken to heal." Sharon nodded slowly. "Intent doesn't erase impact." That landed hard. Cameras zoomed in. Social media teams backstage were already typing furiously, sensing what was coming. Producers whispered urgently through headsets, debating whether to steer the conversation away. But it was too late. The moment had taken control. Meghan crossed her hands in her lap. "With respect, Sharon, it's easy to talk about impact when you haven't lived the experience." Sharon's eyes flashed. "Oh, don't be so sure about that," she replied quietly. Her voice wasn't raised. That made it worse. "I've spent decades in this industry," Sharon continued. "I've watched people be built up, torn down, and rewritten by public opinion. I've watched families fracture under the weight of interviews, headlines, and selective truths." She paused, letting every word settle. "And what troubles me," she said, "is when someone positions themselves solely as a victim while standing on a mountain of influence." The audience shifted in their seats. Some nodded, others frowned. This was no longer an interview, It was a confrontation taking shape in slow motion. Meghan inhaled deeply. "I don't deny my privilege," she said. "But pain doesn't disappear because someone is visible." Sharon leaned back, folding her arms. "No, but responsibility grows with visibility." A heavy silence fell. One of the co-hosts attempted to interject again. "We're all passionate here." "I am passionate," Sharon said, her voice finally hardening, "because words matter. And when those words rewrite history, assign blame, and leave no room for contradiction, that's not conversation. That's control." The audience gasped softly. Meghan's smile was gone now. Her voice remained controlled, but there was steel in it. "So you're saying I shouldn't speak?" "I'm saying," Sharon replied, eyes locked on hers, "that speaking comes with accountability. And I don't think you like being questioned." That was the spark. The tension snapped tight, like a wire pulled too far. Everyone in the studio felt it, the audience, the crew, the co-hosts frozen between them. Sharon Osbourne had crossed from critique into challenge, and Meghan Markle was no longer just a guest. "You talk about impact," she said, standing slightly from her chair. "Let's talk about real impact. Families torn apart, careers destroyed, people afraid to speak because disagreeing with you is treated like a crime." Meghan's voice hardened. "I'm not responsible for how others react to my truth." Sharon slammed her hand on the table. "That's the problem," she shouted. "You call it truth, but you never allow questions. You weaponize pain." The studio erupted, some applause, some boos. The moderator tried desperately. "Let's keep this respectful." "No," Sharon snapped, turning toward her. "Respect means honesty, and honesty means admitting that not everyone who disagrees with you is evil." Meghan stood up. Her voice was calm, but cold. "I won't be spoken to like this." Sharon met her gaze, eyes blazing. "Then don't come on live television and expect silence." The audience was on